Welcome everyone to another episode of Religion and Resilience. I feel like it's been a while since we did our last one, but I'm super excited to have Vasanti Jayaswal here. Welcome, Vasanti. So glad to have you on our show today.
Thank you.
And, before I say anything else, I just want to invite any of you who are watching this who have not subscribed to our channel to please go ahead and just click subscribe. So again, Vasanti, thank you for joining us. I feel very blessed, very honored to have you here to share some of your thoughts on how activity in faith and religion can strengthen somebody internally, can give us internal strength. So just for those who don't know Vasanti, I'll just share a few things here about her. So Vasanti was raised in India as a Hindu by parents who are well-known Indian classical dance directors and performers. We might have to ask you to do a dance or something for us. Though she was trained by her parents in classical dance and music, her academic achievements were in the field of zoology. And in the 60s, she emigrated to this country as a research fellow. So Vasanti, it looks like you gave up your career as a research associate in zoology to raise two sons.
Right.
And she and her husband, please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing this, Vijay?
Vijay, yeah, close enough.
Who is also an emigre from India, spent tireless efforts in navigating their family and the Indian community torn by bicultural values and demands that they faced in the USA. In the 80s, she founded an Academy of Indian Performing Arts in LA. She was also involved in the formation and management of 6 weekend Hindu culture schools for children and young adults. She conducted enrichment programs for West Los Angeles elementary schools. And it seems that knowledge and education definitely are sacred to you, Vasanti, and that's reflected in this bio, and I think in what we're going to hear today. But Vasanti has also been the beneficiary of direct teachings from many famous Hindu, Tibetan Buddhist, and Kabbalah teachers. After retirement, she moved to beautiful Sonoma County, and her current work covers teaching of sacred Indian texts, interfaith research via interdisciplinary applications, conducting Turkish mystic music sessions, and continues to hold individual and group personal transformation workshops. And she still remains very involved in various progressive community activities in Petaluma. So Vasanti, welcome. What could
Thank
you here at the outset, would you be willing to just add anything you'd like to that amazing bio just about who you
That's good enough. I have nothing more to add, really. So
Well, maybe if you wouldn't mind just give us a little, you said you grew up in a Hindu family of dance teachers, and
yes.
with our topic here, I'd love to just hear maybe if you want to share a little bit more about that, growing up in that sort of.
Well, so when we say classical dance teachers, it's a lifestyle that's in many ways orthodox, which you don't associate with artists and art. But I grew up in a conservative family and observed all the Hindu rituals and all, and attended lots of classes even as a teenager. So not just my parents, by example, we practiced our Hindu rituals and values, but also attended classes and managed schooling, music, dance. We had no distractions like radio or television or anything like that. So it was a pretty, now I look back, it's a tight schedule. Morning 7:30, one dance master would come, on his motorcycle, and then I would have to be ready for a dance, take a shower, have your breakfast, rush to school, come back, have a break, do your homework, have another set of music and dance classes. And never felt I was being cheated in life or anything. Had a good time. So, I always performed with my parents whenever they performed, and school, and I could afford to miss school, I would join in their performances. So that was, and we had people from all over the world come and visit us, which was a great experience, because the embassies in the city of now called Chennai, they would ask us to show demonstrations of our art form. So I got to see people from all over the world there, which was nice, really nice.
And this was what ages?
It was good.
What age were you during this time? How old were you?
Well, from birth till my, let's say, till 20s.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And this how the dance correlated with your Hindu beliefs, or was there a correlation there?
Very much, because most of the pieces that are done are taken from our scriptures in the form of dance dramas or solos. So devotion was an integral part of the art form. Devotion to the divine was part of it. So
you were literally enacting out some of these sacred stories.
Right.
It was
exactly.
a drama of sorts. And what was that like as a young girl to be? Do you recall any, I guess, key moments where you could share with us that really was kind of
Well, the particular art form that my father taught is not so much audience oriented. In other words, the other art forms, you're always looking at the audience and you're performing for them. The art form that my father and mom did was, we were enacting the story. So we had to play the role like you do in a movie or whatever. So we were in the role. The moment we finished putting our makeup or the crowns were put, or you put your clothing on, you are a different person. And when you're finished on stage and come back, and when you change your clothing back to your normal clothing, only then you become your normal self, which is different from the other art forms. So it was a strengthening of the scriptures via art. Dramaturgy is, we have the 4 Vedas in Hindu scripture. The 5th Veda is dramaturgy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Dramaturgy, that's the term used. Yeah, it was just reinforced everything.
You said reinforced. What was there? What was the essence for you of your early faith, and how did that start to shape you into where you're at today? Could you share a little bit of that?
It's so many years of. I am today what I am after so many years of things happening. But essentially, there's a foundation laid for an ethical, for instance, ethics, and how you deal with people. What are the consequences of bad behavior? All of that comes through these stories. So it's easier to absorb them via such stories. And so there was hardly, there were moments when parents have to chastise us, but rarely sermonize. My parents never had to sermonize, because we were absorbing it already through the dances and, the study. And the relationship between teacher and student is very sacred. Whether it's music or dance, it's not a pal kind of relationship. No. We look up to our teachers, and the teachers are very aware that the students look up to them. So all that goes into play. And then when I went to college, old enough to know all these things, we maintained the same attitude with our professors too. We kept, a teacher is a teacher. We put the teacher in a higher pedestal. So it spills over.
Yeah. it seems that the structure of, you called it dramaturgy,
Yeah,
was really foundational to you growing up, to provide you some
right,
resilience of your own.
right.
And I maybe before we get more into resilience and how, kind of our primary topic for today, could you speak a little bit about what one or two of those stories were that you acted out, or that what was one of the sacred stories that kind of shaped for you your
Well,
vision?
I wouldn't point out to anyone really, because we did a lot of stories from the Ramayana, which is an epic, and from the Mahabharata, another epic, and then a whole bunch of sacred scriptures called the Puranas. So we did from all these three sources. There are several stories. So I really couldn't point to any one story.
Or was there?
My father also did the life of Christ in his dance style.
Oh,
The life of Christ he has done. Yeah. And there was, now I come to think that I didn't witness it because I was already away from home at that time. But I understand, I remember going to a movie in which he featured, it was the story of Mary Magdalene. There was a part of a bigger story. There was an episode of Mary Magdalene, and my dad got to be selected to play the role of Christ. So because we were the family, we went for the preview. Now it's bringing back to me how my father was able to move even beyond the Hindu scriptures with the art form he had. He was trained in. So I remember sitting in the balcony and watching, and as soon as the scene came, the scene was when Mary Magdalene comes towards Christ, and she cries and the tears fall on his feet. She takes her long hair to wipe. The Christian folks in our balcony stood up and did the sign of the cross as soon as they saw my dad. And that was a strange experience to have as a young kid,
yeah.
So I can't help remembering things like that now that bring
Wow.
it up. So that art form is very versatile. By the way, Ryan, you said about dancing, the last dance I did, I performed. I became more of a teacher and less of a performer once from 90s or so, more of a teacher and choreographer. But the last one I did, because there was so much of pressure on me, was at the church, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Windsor.
Mm-hmm.
And the pastor there, Father Angelito Perez, whose mother tongue is Tamil, he's from Sri Lanka. He's a great musician too, an exceptional musician in Indian music, classical music. He had composed the Our Father prayer in Tamil, in his language.
Oh, wow.
And I performed to that on the altar. That was the last performance I did.
That was it, the last one. Wow.
Yep, that was the last one.
What? So how long ago was that?
I would say 2008 or 7, 2007 or 8, it must be. And I was already moved to Sonoma County then. So,
So it seems that this dramaturgy really, for you, has been just a method for connecting with the divine in a variety of different ways.
very much so. Very
Yeah.
much so.
Was there a character that you related to? You mentioned Mary Magdalene. How about a character that you played in any of those roles that stands out to you as someone that kind of, I
Well,
guess?
I've played both male roles and female roles, both male characters and female characters. But I think the one that I enjoyed the most in my maybe 17, 18 was the warrior from the Mahabharata called Arjuna. My father chose me to do the warrior, and I loved it. I love being the warrior. I can think of that as my most favorite role was that,
What did you love about it?
where under the direction of Krishna, he gets to destroy. Well, it's because it's sometimes you just feel you need to use force against evil, you know, and yeah, I mean, you can't. I was not a pacifist at all growing up. I wasn't a pacifist at all. So this gave me an outlet. I was known for my social active. I was known as an activist even in my college days.
Mm-hmm.
So this gave me an outlet in the dance form uh, to fight against evil, and that's a lot of jumping up and down and aiming the arrows and stuff. It was great. It's just great.
That's
And
wonderful.
my sister played the Kama role of Krishna, who just had to. She just had to drive the horses as a charioteer. She didn't have to do any fighting. I did all the fighting, so it's good.
So you really embodied that role as a warrior. That's maybe that's something that strikes me as something kind of like our topic that we're looking at with resilience, inner strength
Yes,
to get through
yes,
the challenges of mortal life, to get through the challenges of our lived experience. And maybe we could use that as a springboard for you. In this day and age, we see a generation that's really wrestling with religion in general, and what the place of religion is for people today. And could you speak to that a little bit? Just
uh, I mean, I'm running more and more into young people who don't have any religion of any kind.
yeah.
They don't have any kind. They don't feel the need of religion. And if you try to bring it to them, they tend to resist. They don't want, because they have such negative connotations about the way religion is practiced. The point that they don't realize it is, I find that I have to bring it to them, is that it's very personal. You can make it personal. It's up to you to make it personal. It's like, but you still need a map. If you're on a journey and you don't know where you're going, you
Mhm.
still need a map. And that map is religion. But you can decide which turn you want to make with that map. Nobody's telling you go constantly this way. If you have some destination you have in mind, let's say, at the time that you're seeking. First of all, they have to admit they're seeking. That's another thing. So if you have a destination and you plot the map, you'll find there are several ways to get to that destination. So you have a personal choice. And that, I find, is something that I often have to bring it to the young people who are kind of floundering. The other thing I do is, in this part of personal, is have them turn towards their core. Who are you? You're going through your troubles, you're going through the joys. Who is the witnesser of all this? You're
Mm.
witnessing the joys, you're witnessing the sorrow, but you need to turn inwards and see, who is that? And that is where we connect to the divine. And if I can, as often as whenever I can get that across, I find there are changes in the young person. But until that happens, they're just, in a boat without any oars, just floating. Yeah. There are a few things that I found in counseling young people is to give them visualizations, which is easy for them.
Mhm.
Like I would say, hey, think of an octopus. Uh, don't have an octopus hold on likes and dislikes. When I say that and use the word octopus, then they have the picture of how the octopus, once it holds on to something, it's not able to let go. And whether it's a liking or a dislike, don't have an octopus hold on it. A visualization like that seems to help. I use a lot of visualizations because I have to get to them somehow, because I want to see those changes in them.
That
They
sounds
don't need me when they don't need me once they're okay.
yeah. It sounds like you're teaching some non-attachment.
Uh, well, you have to be attached somewhere. I remember engaging in long time college days debates. I was very active in debates, and there was a debate on attachment versus detachment and non-attachment. I think it's you have to be attached somewhere. And for me, I have to only go by my personal experience. The only attachment that I don't want to give up, because it has all along in my life, it has been the attachment to the divine, no matter what happens. If you didn't have that, what do you have? What do you have? So complete detachment, not possible, I think. It's management is probably better than attachment or detachment, I think. Can you manage your attachments? Because you would be a very boring person otherwise.
I really like that. That's a beautiful concept. So management, and that comes back
Mhm.
to what you were saying about choice, where you empower people to recognize that they have the choice to look at and try to connect with the divine as a witness of whatever they're going through. The
Yeah,
divine witnessing 100% of the time, the divine is witnessing what they are going through, what you are going through, what I am going through, and,
right.
and experiencing that. How did you first kind of come about with that for yourself? Were there challenges that you could share that you
Well,
through where
see,
you
Ryan, yeah,
find,
I can. In the sense that, Ryan, I have been trained by so many teachers. And some of the training is very rigorous. In Vedanta, when you're trained in the philosophy of Vedanta, which was what 6 months or so, you have to write a daily log um, before you go to sleep for 3 months in a row. From the moment you wake up till the time you're getting ready to go to sleep, you have to write down every little detail of what happened without commenting, oh, this was a good thing that I did, or this was a bad thing that I did. No, you just go routine. You make it a routine, like a log,
mm,
because you're already seeing without saying whether you were good or bad or right or wrong. You're already seeing that. You don't have to write it down. And then you tear it up that night itself. You don't keep it. 3 months of that teaches you what's called, there are a lot of Sanskrit terms that I feel that are not, I try to get only the closest English term. Sometimes it's not adequate. It's a training. It's called where you be a witness to yourself. It's like sentry duty on yourself. That's closest to it. You do a sentry, like a guard on yourself,
mm,
and you see. Then you learn to separate emotions from decisions you have to make. The faculty that you use for decisions, if it's emotional, it won't work. You begin to learn how your mind operates. And all this is through the teachings I've had from the teachers who, I've had several of them, and put it to practice. Like one of the things that helped me the most, Ryan, was when I was teaching school enrichment. I had to apply because I had to deal with directors with whom I don't always agree, their attitude towards kids or whatever. But every day, based on these trainings, every day you meet somebody, you never remember the good they did, you never remember the bad they did to
wow.
the relationship. That is tough, but it's possible. Definitely possible, because once you make a habit of it, you don't have to work at it anymore, because it becomes set. It's just like when you make yogurt. At some point, the yogurt sets. You don't have to worry about it. So it sets that way. And so that was one of the hardest thing, but one of the most useful one was that. And I think the other one that took a little while is when you have said something or deliberated on something that was not good, or you hurt somebody. We do a certain chant over again, because once you are aware that you did something wrong, that feeling is so deep and dark that, according to the Kabbalah, the light of the Creator cannot come in. And if you don't have the light of the Creator coming in, you're not going to move forward. So that was a tough one to work at. Yeah, the only good thing is the more you practice, the less you have to use it, because you find you're not getting into those situations as much. Yeah.
How did you practice that? How did you work on that?
Work on it daily. It's I think our rabbi used to say, why are you in this? Why are you here? Why are you born? For one reason, you got to transform. You got to transform. And I don't think that process ever stops. You keep finding more about yourself. I don't think it ever stops. You just have to work on yourself all the time without coming hard on yourself, Work on yourself without coming hard on yourself. So
that's the fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like what you said.
There's another side to this, Ryan, that I don't want people to miss out, and that's learning to enjoy the love of God. This is all nitty-gritty work, but there's another part we can enjoy it, and that's through music of the different religions. I love it. I just love the music of the different religions. One year, I used to attend the Aquas Cafe's caroling. That Aquas Cafe has a caroling, downtown caroling. I was never satisfied, because it was more like, it's like a party thing going on. To me, Christmas and all is much more than a party. So so one year, John's wife said, would you like to lead the caroling? I said, I would, but you're going to have to do what I ask you to do. And that was to have them pay attention to what they're singing first, and then learn to enjoy. But still, it didn't satisfy me. Spiritually wasn't enough when I was leading, and that craving was so strong. I ended up listening to the Byzantine Orthodox music, the Greek Orthodox music. Wow, that was it. Every morning I woke up, I would listen to that. I was happy. Then I was able to go and direct it. The joy of being able to love God is such a privilege. It's such a privilege, People should know that exists, Anyway, don't get me on that. That one I could go on and on and on, so I wouldn't.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is definitely an aspect of world faiths, most, if not, that where we look at the joy that is resultant from connecting with the divine, and allowing that joy to be the fuel to get us through some of life's most difficult challenges.
Right. So for instance, if I push music with my students and those who I have to counsel, I push music. For instance, if I have a Christian, let's say a young person, I would say, listen to, and I would select the song. Not everybody sings all the songs equally well. There's a beautiful song called Anime Christi Sanctificame. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. So you anoint your body before you go out into the world with the picture of Christ and what it took place. It's done in a beautiful piece of music. Every time I've given that to somebody, I found later on they were using it pretty often. And if it's a Jewish person, there's a song called Ana Bekoa, which is also very beautiful. And I would say, use it. You need that. And then they slowly discover how that music helps them. So, yeah.
Vasanti, how would you say that? So, looking at that activity, when you say it helps them, how do you observe the help? How could one who does that practice? How could that help a person?
Well, two ways. One is they would tell me. That was one of the ways. They would tell me how it has helped them at times when they're having issues. When they have made it a habit of doing this, they are able to shift. That's coming directly from them. The other is when I meet them, I kind of put my feelers out to see how they're doing. That's what I do, to see how well they're doing. And so far, it's always helped. It's always helped. I think in all the years I've taught different things, there was one, there's a famous Vedic prayer that I had to share with Indian mothers, Hindu mothers who couldn't go to sleep at night because their kids are out partying, coming at 3 o'clock, drunk, whatever, they're not able to go to sleep. So there's a prayer addressed to the night, to the divinity of the night. And I would ask them, read that prayer. Many of them can't read Sanskrit, so I would give the English translation. Read the prayer. Hang your worries like you hang your coat, and try to sleep. I remember one lady telling me that it didn't help her. That's the only occasion, because I always let them know, let me know if it helps you or not. And only one time the lady said, it just didn't work. And I didn't do anything about it either beyond that. On that particular case, I didn't. So.
Wow. So helping, you say help, this, whether it's music or recitation of the Vedic prayer or aspects of being a centurion of yourself, watching yourself, observing, allowing the mindfulness of recognizing that the divine is watching and observing us. How do you recognize within yourself, Vasanti, if you could share within yourself if those things are helping you? Is there some kind of behavioral change that happens, or do you notice for you how and some of your clients as well, but do you notice?
Well, let's see. I mean, I think there have been changes all along from the way I was as a teenager, let's say, and the way I am right now. I think if I have to put it in one line, I am more centered than ever before. Centered. And that's because I see that center is always associated with the divine. And as long as I don't lose that, I can, even if I stray a little bit, I'm able to come back. That's the best way I can describe, because the changes have been so many over the years. I wasn't a bad kid, but I had a lot of areas that needed fixing. So, like jealousy or anger, those were my weaknesses. So, had to work on all of them.
Yeah.
So
centering, well, I guess feeling centered, and that, what a blessing that is. And I can imagine for young people growing up today, finding center would be so important, especially when there are so many non-center things going on around
Yeah.
us.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any recommendations for young people that want to, and older people too, who want to have more of that focus on the divine, what they can do to experience that centeredness?
Excuse me. I guess here I go a little bit orthodox, let's say. This is just my way. I don't know if it's the best way. But when, let's say, a Jewish student comes to me and she's all fascinated by Hinduism and she's learning dance from me and everything, and she wants to take on to the Hindu religion, I would say, no. You have already something. Explore that. You have it. That's a gift, what you have. You work on that gift. And I have found that so far, I make them go back one way or the other. Generally, what happens in America is the parents are from different backgrounds. So then they would have to choose, but they must, I'd say, go back there. It's there for you. You have to go back. And then it's like if you're a toddler, you still need something to hold on to till you learn to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And those rails, these religions, I don't care which religion it is, they all provide the rails you need. And you're trying to walk when you cannot really walk, they're there for us. And I found every time I have them go back to the religion in which they were born, it has helped. I don't know if I should say it has helped them, but it has shown them a way.
Given them rails to hold on to.
Yeah, right. And they don't have to do exactly what their parents did, but you have those scriptures are there. Take it, and make something off of it yourself.
Yeah, go and
I encourage that. I encourage self-exploration of the scriptures. You got to do that. Yeah.
I love that because Vasanti, you exemplify that in your life of making the scripture personal for you through dance, through music,
Mm-hmm.
through your expressions in that way. And what you're recommending for young people is to go back to their roots, to the origin story of their, and to connect with the divine, that through that context.
Right, I do.
What kind of challenges do you see people facing when they try to do that? Do you see roadblocks that you have to get over?
One of the challenges they have is not using their own mind, but rather being led blindly.
Oh.
Yeah. How shall I explain that? Somebody in a responsible position, say in a religious responsible position, has told you something, and then you just blindly follow that. And at some point you're disappointed because you went like a parrot that simply mimicking. My advice is never give your mind to anybody else. Never give it, because there are a lot of so-called Indian gurus that come to this country. They are after the dollars. They're not after really helping you. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. That is the truth. And the scriptures are there for you to study. You don't have to just blindly follow what somebody says, and then you lose your own capacity to discriminate. Discriminate is not the way, to dissect and be selective, because you're blindly following. And I find that's probably the biggest challenge, is them not using their own mind. So I love it when I teach children and they can challenge me. They really can, because they're a lot more innocent than I am. So they're not afraid of saying things that come, and I learn from them. And I learn from my students too, because I make the atmosphere easy enough that they can contradict me, as long as they keep the proper vocabulary. They can contradict me. I don't mind, because it's important for me to know too. So I think that is the biggest challenge, I think, is that they don't want to exert their own mind. Many of them don't want to. Then there are others who are constantly complaining but don't want to do anything about it. They just want to complain. Oh, I had a bad parentage, or I'm tired of hearing all of that. You have your capacities right now to do something about your life. Forget what your parents did. And that's something I have to do over and over again with some of these, especially in America. That's an issue. It's not so much in India. When I have to counsel in India, they rarely go back to their parentage. But in this country, they carry baggages like that I have to have them shed. That's the biggest challenges, I think, that I run into. So,
well, you're really bringing your warrior attitude. I can, and you recommend for anyone seeking to be more centered and connected with the divine, and to be able to find a way to use the tenets of their religion to be stronger, and to get, not just get through the struggles of life, but to find joy through it, and to have joy in their relationship with their God. And I think about right now, it's the end of Holy Week as we get in Christianity, ready for Easter, and Jesus does say something very similar when he says, "Be watchful unto prayer." Watch and pray. That idea of watching ourselves and being a centurion of ourselves. I really love that concept. And it seems that it's a process too, and you're invited to come into that process with an open mind and a warrior mentality.
Yep.
Well, it's been so wonderful to have you on today, Vasanti, and I wonder, any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us, with any viewers today, about just kind of to capture how activity in one's faith can bring them strength?
Well, the one thing I like to say is, when you're dealing with another human being, try to see the best in that person. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. If you can see, and what I do is, which I do instinctively, is, and I'd say that became more when I came to Sonoma County. It's the truth. I might as well tell you that now that you say it. In the Quran, there's a line, because I do Turkish music, in the Quran that says, when you look to the east, it's the face of Allah. You look to the west, it's the face of Allah. It's like this. Every direction you look, it's the face of Allah. To me, in Sonoma County, that is the experience I'm having. When I deal with anybody, I cannot but see the divine in them. And if you even make a half-hearted attempt at that, anyone, I think the rewards are plentiful. They'll never stop coming, the rewards. That's what I want anybody to know. Come out of yourself and see that if I'm talking to somebody, that equation doesn't have me in it. I'm forced now to tell so much about myself. But in this interaction, you are more important to me than I am. It's natural. And if the young people or even adults can go a little bit that way, boy, they would be so much happier. people. So that's all I want to say. I already said a lot. So.
That's a wonderful way to wrap up. Just that beautiful testimony and witness that you just shared with us, Vasanti, about loving God and loving others. So thank you so much for being on today.
And I appreciate what you do, Ryan. What you do is no less what you're doing. When I read Faith and Reliance and what the U.S. Coast Guard does about the counselings that they do, that's an awesome, awesome job. Awesome job. So I appreciate that very much. Very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thanks to all of you who viewed today. Again, feel free to subscribe and have a wonderful rest of your day, Vasanti.
Thank you. You too. You too, Kimberly.